When it comes to Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, players will argue endlessly about all sorts of things. Whether the combat system has finally been perfected, whether the new minigames are strokes of genius or distractions inflicted upon us by cruel developers with an unhealthy Chadley obsession. And of course, whether Cloud's hair has the exact degree of verticality the OG had. But none of those debates seem to matter quite as much or sting quite as deeply as the eternal question: who should Cloud end up with? Do you side with Tifa, the loyal childhood friend with suspiciously good genetics? Or do you choose Aerith, the flower girl with a smile that could melt glaciers? I want to argue without hesitation that even if you're only interested in playing the Tifa or Barret routes, or that Sephiroth is your one true love, that players need to play the Aerith romantic path at least once. Not because other paths are weak, they aren't, but because Aerith's story is the emotional backbone of the plot so far. It's where the story sings, sometimes literally, and where the themes of the Re-Trilogy crystallise. Now that's not to say that won't change. I expect to see loads of great Tifa scenes in Part 3, but right now Aerith is more integral to the plot. And I suggest that even the biggest Tifa stans play this, just to understand and enjoy all the incredible dev work that has gone into this scenario. Now what do I actually mean by path? By this I mean doing a playthrough with all Aerith's side quests done in both Remake and Rebirth, obtaining Aerith's resolution scene and gold saucer date and her high affinity variants too. This will give you the full experience. But why exactly should you take my word for it? First off, let's talk about the writing. Aerith and Cloud's romance is witty, natural, and layered. It has an energy that feels like actual chemistry. A real-life relationship based on gentle interactions taking place in people's free time. When Aerith teases Cloud, there's rhythm and banter, and you can feel Cloud slowly, painfully thawing. Sometimes they are awkward, sometimes things don't go smoothly, but that's reality for you, especially between two people so hopelessly inexperienced in this area. None of this is accidental. It's rooted in Japanese storytelling traditions, particularly manzai comedy, where one character plays it straight whilst the other disrupts them with absurdity. Aerith is mischievous, whimsical, even a bit cheeky, while Cloud plays the deadpan straight guy. And it works. It's funny, but it's also a microcosm of the larger story, Aerith pulling Cloud and us into life. And let's be clear, Cloud desperately needs to be coaxed. Left on his own, he's about as emotionally engaging as a damp towel. But with Aerith, he's alive. He's vulnerable. He's a little less soldier-like and more the broken child that he should be at this point. No one can read Cloud like Aerith can, and no one can draw out this shy, awkward side quite like our favourite flower seller. That's good writing, especially paired with Tifa, who seems adept at pulling out the more relaxed, free-flowing Cloud. The Aerith romance also embodies something deeply Japanese, monno no awhile, the beauty of impermanence. It's the idea that moments are more beautiful because they don't last. Aerith embodies this principle entirely. It's not a coincidence that two of the most romantic scenes between these two take place at sunset or dusk. Her romance with Cloud isn't about grand declarations or fireworks. It's about small, fleeting joys, messing around in a marketplace, exchanging glances, moments of laughter that are precious precisely because you know they won't last. Now, a crucial point as to why you should try playing the game this way. The Aerith route isn't optional fluff or fan service. It's structurally tied to the plot. The more you invest in Aerith, the more you understand the stakes of the story, particularly the meta-narrative, the so-called four-dimensional chess match being played by Aerith and Sephiroth. Aerith's resolution scene in Remake is a beautiful example of this, as we actually speak to a future version of Aerith. It's a great glimpse of a much bigger theme potentially permeating these new titles. When you choose her route, her lines resonate more, her choices carry more weight, and you suddenly realise the writers are laying emotional tripwires all over the place. You're laughing one moment, and the next you're thinking, oh no, they're setting me up, and this is going to hurt. And it will, that's the point. If you don't attach to Aerith, the eventual potential loss, or the constant threat of it, loses its power. It's like watching Titanic and not caring about Jack. Playing the Aerith route allows you to build this rapport fairly easily. This isn't just conventional romance, it's an emotional investment, and if you open up to it, the payoff is so much greater. Sad, yes, but so much more impactful if you have skin in the game, and that's what the devs want. They want you to hit these emotional peaks and troughs. And then there's the songs. No Promises to Keep, now instantly recognisable, suddenly blossoms into clarity if you're on this path. It's always impactful, no matter who you're on the date with, but there is no beating this performance when through the Aerith lens. The lyrics, the melody, the orchestration and the choreography, it screams love song, and to have Aerith look over at Cloud as he pulls the petal to his heart feels genuinely clean. A moment between two people, not three or more, but two. A beautifully intimate moment. You hear it once and it's touching. You hear it after choosing Aerith's route and it's devastating. It's as though Yumatsu personally leaned over your shoulder and said, here's the soundtrack to your heartbreak. Enjoy. There's Promises, which ties in with the promise at the end of the game between the two characters. There's foreshadowing. And there's a genuine feeling that this is a heart-wrenching goodbye between two people who never had the chance to say it in countless separations. Now, is Aerith's romance canon? Officially, no. Square Enix insists there is no canon romance in Remake or Rebirth or even the OG, and I've always believed them. But I do believe there is an intended or default route. If not, why does the story bend itself so completely around Aerith's presence? Watch the cinematography, the way Cloud and Aerith are positioned, framed and written, the way pivotal story beats demand you care about her, the way they put so much emphasis on her sad childhood. It's like developers are handing you a giant neon sign saying, please love her, please empathize with her, please have feelings that go beyond stabbing jokes. We need you to, otherwise none of this works. It's not canon, or not as far as we know, but it seems to be the intended emotional experience. This is where the English in me comes out. We don't like to admit it, but part of the appeal of Aerith's romance is the cruelty of it. It's like all those years of being tortured by Shakespeare or Bronte readings in school have broken each and every one of us. We're doomed to become attached to a character we know developers have already circled with a red marker saying, this one, this is the one we're going to break you with. It's almost theatrical. You know the trap is set and you walk straight into it anyway, because the laughter, the lightness, the joy, the wonderful subtlety, those make the eventual pain worthwhile. It's like choosing to watch Romeo and Juliet for the 100th time. You know how it ends. You know you'll be shouting at the screen for Romeo to just check for Juliet's pulse. But you still do it, because the beauty of the love makes the tragedy bearable. Or unbearable, which is, let's face it, the same thing. But in this case, we have the fascinating prospect that perhaps fate isn't set, and what better place to be when we discover this answer than a place of attachment with Aerith. Some of you will say, what about Tifa? She's loyal, she's warm, she's been with Cloud since childhood, surely she deserves the role. And she does. Tifa's romance is tender and well earned. Tifa is also a more conventional media romance, more Hollywood, allowing folks who are less interested in the more Japanese romantic tropes or outlandish mind-bending themes of this new trilogy, something that's more grounded. But Tifa's story is one of constancy. Aerith's is one of impermanence. And Final Fantasy VII up to this point is not a story about constancy. It's a story about fleeting joy, about discovering new things and the potential that entails. It's about battling fate, about love made sharper because it may not last. That's why Aerith's route hits so hard. That's why it feels inevitable. That's why you should try it at least once, even if you immediately go back to your one true love. Ultimately, that's the heart of it. At this point in the story, you feel more on the Aerith route. The highs are brighter, the lows are crueler, the laughter is tinged with dread, the smiles shadowed by fate. It's an emotional cocktail designed to leave you wrecked, and you drink it anyway because that's what great storytelling does. It makes you complicit in your own heartbreak. So why should you play Aerith's route in Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth? Because it's beautifully written. Because it embodies Japanese aesthetics of impermanence in what we must remind ourselves is a beautifully Japanese game. Because it's structurally bound to the plot. Because the music cuts deeper when you care for her. Because even if it's not canon, it's the closest thing the story has at this point. And yes, because it will hurt. It will gut you. It will leave you sitting in front of the screen wondering why you let yourself be manipulated like this. And then months later, you'll still be thinking about the themes that play in those last scenes, and you'll know exactly why. Give Aerith a chance. Even if you'll always love Tifa or Barret or Red or Yuffie, laugh with her, empathise with her, and if the story takes her away, know that you've experienced part of Final Fantasy VII as it was always meant to be experienced. Beautiful, fleeting, and utterly unforgettable.